was about 20 years ago or so that I first discovered the power of crystals. I was aware of crystals themselves, of course, but my understanding was limited to the clear or near clear prisms seen in bookstores, or the white quartz crystals that abound on the property I live on. I thought they were pretty, but that was it as far as I was concerned. Then I went to my first conscious awareness event, and as I passed through aisles and aisles of books, dream catchers, essential oils, sage sticks, singing bowls, and the like, my husband and I felt ourselves drawn to a table full of rows and rows of colorful crystals and stones. We ended up buying about 10 of them, more out of curiosity than anything else. We did some research when we got home and discovered they actually had some practical uses. My husband found that putting the rose quartz on his back eased the tightness he felt there, and I experimented with some of the other crystals to ease stress. And then, when I got into dream work several years later, I discovered that Herkimer diamonds help promote sweet dreams. But rather than me go on and on about this, I'm happy to call in an expert to shed some more light on the magic of crystals. Michelle Welch is an accomplished author of several books, including a crystal oracle deck, owns several crystal stores, and is a noted psychic intuitive, all while being a practicing lawyer. Welcome to the Dream Power Experience, Michelle.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
Okay, Michelle, I do just have to start off with this. Do you use crystals in your law practice?
Yes, actually. The interesting thing is we started our business, and when I say me, it's me and my husband. We started our business by making bracelets. I would never wear jewelry. I used to be a tennis player, and then for jury trials, I'm kind of demonstrative with my hands and whatever. My things would fly out of my hair. My very first jury trial, I think a barrette or something went flying across the room. And so I would never wear much jewelry because also I couldn't ever do the clasp on bracelets. You know how that's hard. So we started making stretch jewelry because we loved crystals. And that's how, so I started wear them every day because a bracelet with beads is a crystal grid on your arm. And you can use it for mantras and affirmations. So a lot of different things I use to wear the crystals on. But it started with that because I could put on a stretch bracelet and get it off really easily. And usually they wouldn't fly across the courtroom. It was a really good thing.
So was that your first interest in crystals, or did you have an interest in it before that?
I had an interest before that. I always had an interest really in rocks of any kind. And I always liked it when we get to science where we're studying geology and things like that. But I went to Texas A&M University for my undergrad, and I sat with somebody in the library who was studying geology, for oil and gas. And I was like, oh, that's really complicated. I'm going to stick to business. So I didn't major in it, but I really, really love all the rocks and looking at the things that crystals can do for us from not only a kind of a woo aspect is what people say a lot of times, which I do believe in, but also just a scientific aspect, how they can help us.
Okay, so now you have to tell me about the scientific side of it. So what makes crystals so powerful for us?
So crystals have like a fixed dominant oscillatory rate. So they move at about the same rate as they oscillate or they vibrate because everything's energy and everything moves. We have chaos. We have discordance. We're not stable in our oscillation. Let's just say that in the rate at which we move and vibrate and go about life. We're up and down. So we entrain to the crystals as opposed to the crystals entraining to us. So if we have a crystal that is maybe really good for, let's say, focus, which I need, those have a cubic internal structure. And so if you think about a cube, that's a square, right? Pretty much a square. And so it's stable, it's structure. So I, a lot of times, am drawn to those kinds of crystals. So that's kind of the science behind it, is we do train to them. There are some, and we'll call a lot of things that are crystals that really aren't technically crystals, like amber, pearls, obsidian, but they will fall under an amorphous. They're a little more chaotic. They don't have a structure to them. But I really believe in connecting with the crystals in so many different ways, but there's one, it's a carbon called shungite, which is incredibly good. And it has a thing called the science, fullerenes in it. And that is complicated. I'm not that great at science. I do like knowing the science of it. And fullerenes kind of look like soccer balls. And shungite will help meet you where you are. If you feel kind of down, it'll help you kind of be picked up if you feel, and vice versa. But also it's a purifier, and it helps with the 5G, all the technology and things that were radiation. And it was used after Chernobyl, actually. So shungite's probably the most to prove scientifically that crystals help. Shungite would be the best example.
Okay, and what would you use shungite for?
So me for a lot of things. I'll show you shungite. For those, I'm holding up a bowl. It's a shungite bowl that you can put things in. There's a palm stone, which palm stones are great. And like I said, it's a carbon. So you can use it. And this is one of our bracelets, and it's called an empath's necessity. So it helps you just not absorb everything that maybe isn't good for you to absorb. I wear it every day except for today because I didn't want to make too much noise on the podcast, but you can use it. You can even drop one in your water. Now, you have to be careful with crystals. You always want to look up whether or not you should drop something directly in your water, but shungite you can. It's a purifier. And so we can use it in so many different ways. Elixirs, you can wear the bracelet, you can put your other crystals or your rings or things down into like a bowl to clear it. I'm going to show something really neat, and I'm going to tell everybody listening what it is. This, it's heavy. I put my phone in this. I set my phone right in this. It's not a charger, but it's shungite. And I set my phone in it when I'm not using it. I'll show you. And it works really great. That's how we do it. So there's a lot of good things. And so shungite's a great example of using that. I'm using the crystals in our daily lives.
Right. So I was very interested in the way you're using the shungite for the phone. So would that work in the same way that like a Faraday bag would work to block out those nasty waves?
Yes. And can I guarantee that it's blocking out everything? No. But you set your intention. It's not all about intention. It actually works scientifically. Shungite does, but to purify and to block out the 5Gs and when you're going through the airport and all those kinds of things. But can I guarantee that 100% works? No, but yes, I will say it works. That's the one that I always laugh at myself, or everybody else does, because I always say, well, it's my favorite. Well, I really can't choose a favorite crystal, but shungite is the best one to talk about. That it's proven that even Peter the Great used shungite, that it's proven that it actually has the internal structure and things in it that are good for our health.
So would you say then that all crystals have frequencies, and that when we get in contact with them, we adjust to those frequencies then?
Yes, we do. We entrain to that or adjust to that frequency. And because they all have, there's 8 categories of internal structures, all the way from that cubic, which is very stable, to that amorphous that I talked about, that's just no structure whatsoever. So it's interesting because I have a quiz with my crystal deck that kind of figures out where you fall. There's hexagonal, there's trigonal, and a quiz, and you can kind of see, am I picking crystals that will help me, or am I picking crystals that are already like me, but because they just, I like how I feel, and I'm drawing this crystal. So it's really interesting to see how we then the internal structure, and then to see what kind of crystals people pick, and if it goes with if they take that short little quiz, if it goes with their internal structure as a person.
So then you could, so in other words, you're saying that you can use crystals to enhance what you already have, or you can use them to adjust something that you want to adjust.
You can. And I've not done this yet, but I always say I want to do it. I always wonder, with homeopathic, medicine, they say sometimes, even essential oils, they'll say a lot of times you're drawn to the one you most need, but you may not, excuse me, you're not drawn to the one you most need. So like, I don't like the smell of vetiver. It smells like old, nasty tobacco, whatever, cigarettes, crushed, and not, I don't know about that. I just know what it smells like, and dirt to me. But it also helps you sleep. It helps you relax. So sometimes I need that. So with essential oils or homeopathic, sometimes you're drawn to something that you're not drawn to what you need. It's like the opposite. So I always wonder with crystals, does it work in the same way? I really want to do a scientific experiment on that, an official one, and have people in and say, okay, pick crystals and see if they're drawn to what they need or what they already are resonating with. And I think I would find it's a little bit of both, but it's really fascinating.
It is. And something that occurred to me, and tell me if you think this is crazy or maybe you would agree with it. I was wondering what would happen if we put a crystal in the hands of every single person on Earth. How would that change us?
I absolutely think here's the thing. A lot of people say, do you have to believe in the crystal for it to work? I don't think you do. I think that it can, of course, it's going to ramp it up when we're matching our thoughts with and creating our reality and our thoughts with that crystal. But that's a great question. I've never heard that, and I love thinking about it. I think that it would be wonderful, and they can't hurt you. To sort of answer that question. So let's say we gave everyone an amorphous, metamorphic, not metamorphic, meteorite of that turned tektite, which is moldavite. A lot of people talk about it. There's a lot of false information on TikTok about moldavite, but it's a high ascension. So if we put that in the hands of everybody, there might be some people who are like kind of jittery from that, because you can get a little jittery. But if we put a crystal, a clear quartz, and maybe one other crystal for peace and kindness and the way we speak to each other, maybe a blue crystal, or, from our throat chakra up, maybe a crown, an amethyst, I think it would make a big difference, because we're coming together, right? And putting all of our energies into one big thought form or source with our crystals. So I think it's very interesting.
Like, because I think because we're all energy and the crystals have energy, if we all had the same energy going at the same time and it was a positive energy, what could happen?
Yeah, something for peace. Thinking about right now, I think something for peace would be a beautiful thing, and unity. I do know that let me see if I can get this right. There's two places, and I want to say that near the equator, I'm not sure, but the Reiki Association has a grid set up at like 2 or 3 places in the world that they've set up crystal grids, and they're for peace. And that I always find that really interesting. So it's somewhat of the same concept, but that would be a great thing. I think that if we got anything that we could all agree on, that we would all hold in one hand that was uplifting to us, that whatever that was, that would be great. So that we could maybe communicate with everyone a little bit in a more diplomatic, kind way. That would be wonderful.
It would. So let's say you have a crystal that you say promotes calmness. Does it work the same way with everybody?
Great question. Not always, because of whatever's going on with us. So I'll get lepidolite. So I'm showing this beautiful purple. Can't show how beautiful this is. It's a heart, and it's called lepidolite. And I've got a raw one here. It's one of my favorites. This is what they get lithium from. It's a purple. This one's more raw. It's got a lot of mica in it, and lithium comes from lepidolite. So to answer your question, let's say we gave everyone lepidolite, which is great for anxiety, so is shungite, and calming us down. if somebody really was already just so super chill and they needed maybe a little more oomph, maybe we'd want to give them a red calcite and then give Michelle, give me, just put a coat of armor of this on me, of the lepidolite, and let me calm down, and maybe a little red calcite. But I do think we respond in different ways because we are different. We're unique, even though we're all one and part of the collective and all one. But I do think that we do respond differently. But I've never seen anybody have a super adverse effect from any crystal. And I do a lot of work with crystals, with crystal healing. That's questions. I love thinking about that. Yeah.
Well, Michelle, is it important to clean or recharge the crystals?
So I'll answer that in two parts. I think it's important to clean the crystals, actually clean with soap and water, even the ones that like selenite, which I'm holding up a big wand of this white selenite. It's gypsum. Everybody will say, well, it'll fall apart in the water, it dissolves in the water. Well, we've done tests with this and it takes it a really long time. So you could wipe this and clean it, right? But to energetically clean your crystals, you can do all kinds of things. You can put them in a singing bowl or next to a singing bowl and play the singing bowl. You can clap, you can sing yourself. Other crystals can clear crystals. I do not really recharge my crystals. Let me put it this way. I do recharge them sometimes. I love them getting moon baths, or, if you know which ones can go in the sun and you don't leave them out there too long, getting that sun energy into them. But as far as programming, which you didn't ask me this one, but I'll just say, I don't really program crystals. And I'll tell you why. I think that it's just like totems. So like say the wolf, we don't say the wolf or something, we say wolf because it's the wolf group. And then there's individual wolves that we work with or that we actually know. I used to know a wolf in Tucson, and I always looked forward at the Gem and Mineral Show seeing the wolf, the particular wolf. Crystals are that way too. So let's say we have a malachite. So there would be a malachite, this beautiful green, but it also has its own personality. So how would I feel if somebody said they were going to, it's a being, and I used to not say that. I was like, oh, come on, it's not a being. Well, yeah, it is. It's energy. Everything's energy and it never goes away. It just changes form. So it's a form of energy. It's a form of a being. And I wouldn't want somebody programming me. It already comes with traits and characteristics and properties. The only thing that I might suggest really programming would be a clear quartz. You didn't really ask that question, but yes, I think it's important to clear them. But I don't live a lot in fear. So my crystals, we have a lot because I have 3 stores. And if we were taking them out in the moon and putting them back every full moon and putting them in the sun and doing all that, we would never be able to work probably, except for doing that. And so I think a lot of intention setting is something really good too. If you can't do that kind of thing, it's okay. And crystals tend to clear themselves a lot too. They take on things for us, and people will get worried. Oh no, now it means it's negative. And I just haven't found that to be my experience. But if you feel like, hey, I want to clear this because I feel like it's picked up some ick on it, then sure, clear it. But I don't program as much or do those things as much as some other people do, just because I work with them so much. Yeah. I know that they can take care of themselves sometimes a little bit better than we think. We think we always know better than other beings, and really they sometimes know better than us. So
a little bit related to that, let's say if you got a crystal, let's say your mother had a crystal and she gave it to you, would it have your mother's energy in it?
I believe so. Now, another great question. I've thought about this one a lot. I think like anything else, because the clothes are going to have their energy in them, their favorite items. So the crystal, as much as she held that crystal or worked with that crystal, I do believe it would have that energy in it. Let's take that a step beyond. If somebody really had put a lot of negativity into a crystal, do I see that a lot? Like, oh, this crystal just has bad, it's like a possessed crystal or something. I really don't see that. But I do believe because they keep their own characteristics, but I do think that it could have those residual effects, just like, for clairtangency and feeling that psychometry, just like articles of clothing and furniture could too, just because everything's energy.
Absolutely. You talked earlier about, the bracelet that you made to wear on your wrist. Is wearing crystals the best way to get the most out of them, or what other ways can we use them?
So there's so many ways. You are a dream expert, and you talked about things, dreams in your life, dreams in your, in your sleep. An amethyst, for example. I have a beautiful one here and a geode in the back, but a beautiful purple amethyst is great for kind of warding off nightmares. So you could put this beside your bed at night. I put black moonstone. Show y'all this one. I'm holding up a black moonstone. It's got a little peach in it too. It's beautiful, and they'll calm you down. So that's one thing you can do. You can wear them, but that's just because for convenience for me, because when I was carrying around a lot of crystals, I was like, man, my purse is getting heavy, or something. Or, if you pin them on your clothes, inside your clothes, it kind of gets a little heavy. And so it just made it a lot easier to wear. I mean, I usually wear about 10 bracelets on each arm just because they're so easy to take on and off. But you got to also do, we have here at the store, we have water that is infused with different crystals. So, and it's in the little spigots, so that some, like what you put tea or lemonade in. And so we have one that's like carnelian infused, maybe from the new moon. And then we will have just with different kinds of water. It's distilled water because you don't want to use anything mineral, because you don't want to mix your minerals, but distilled water. And we'd have like carnelian, or they can choose black tourmaline for protection, carnelian for ramping it for energy in their sacral chakra. And we have clear quartz, we have rose quartz, we change them out, we have shungite, and you can add that to like sprays that we have. So we'll already have sprays kind of pre-made, and then you get to choose the water to dilute it that you want to put into that spray. So, and you can make your own too. And so there's so many ways. I'll tell you a funny one. For sleeping and snoring. So pyrite, and I don't see a pyrite around here, but pyrite's cubic, so it helps with organization and with math. And so pyrite, fool's gold, a lot of people call it, will help with two things that are really interesting. And I've tested these because people repeat things, and you're kind of going, did they just read that somewhere? And then everybody just repeats the same thing over and over again. It helps people not snore as much. Seriously, I've given it so many friends, and they put it, I'm not saying it's just men who snore, but they put it under their husband's pillows. Also, if you have trouble with a neighbor, let's say you're living in an apartment and the neighbor above you is just really noisy, and it's just not been a great relationship, you could tape pyrite to the top of your ceiling. And so it would be a good barrier in between, just to calm things down between you and that neighbor, or the neighbor next door. If you just put it on the fence, you don't want to put it on their property, but that'd be a great way to use crystals also.
Oh, that's fabulous. Nice to know you could do that, have that little separation there. One of the major issues I think everybody faces at one time or another, deals with one time or another, is stress. So how can we use crystals to help alleviate stress?
Well, one of the ways, and the lepidolite I showed you, the shungite, there's so many. First of all, I would hold them in my hands. I won't get all into the dominant and the receiving hand. So just to make it not too complicated, I would just hold them in our hands. Our hands, the natties or nadis in our hands, that are the little bitty chakras and ley lines and meridian points, they connect to, and the ones in our hands connect to our heart. So you could hold it and get that lepidolite in, just get it in your hands. You can feel the energy, you really can. And then you could put that down, and you could bring your hands up to your heart chakra. and it really would just calm you down. It works, calm down the energy. You could do this without a crystal, by the way. The ones in your feet connect to your root chakra. Now that'd be a little harder. I'm not that good at yoga. I don't know if I'd be able to do that one, but for the hands going to the heart, it really will calm you down. There's so many crystals for that, so many different crystals. A great one again is this. I use this wand of selenite. It's a white piece for everyone listening of gypsum, and it comes in different forms, and they're smaller and larger. I use it for pain. You mentioned pain or soreness, I believe with your husband, maybe when y'all first shopped. But I use it like going through an airport. I'm waving it like a wand, like going, or when I go to the courthouse, oh, Michelle, you left your knife, use knife to open the store. Put your knife, hide your knife in the bushes, Michelle. I mean, there it is. I'm going in the courthouse. But use it. You almost use it like you're going through you just want to clear your whole auric field with this. And I call it the sage of crystals. And I actually had somebody ask me one time, well, how do I light it? And I was like, well, no. I mean, it's instead of sage, you use the selenite. So it's a great one to calm you down. And there's just so many ways to use them. After another thing I will tell you, after you use this, and I don't have the black kyanite over here, but it looks like a broom. And you use the black kyanite to kind of sweep away anything. And if, I don't like to scare people, but like you've heard of maybe psychic vampires, people who maybe are just kind of leeching your energy out of you. They may not even mean to, they're just always calling and whining and complaining, and you want to be their friend. And afterwards you feel fatigued. You can just sweep that black kyanite over you and then do your auric field with this selenite. And it really is great and calms you down very quickly and gets you. And also that black kyanite will balance all of your chakras. If you just go up and down, it'll balance them until you need it again. But it'll help a lot.
Okay, we just talked about calming down. What about if we want to increase our energy?
Okay, so it's interesting because you can go with colors a lot of times. Okay, so to increase your energy, that's really, we look at our sacral chakra, our passion, our vitality. That's the orange around our, just below our navel, right? So red calcite is great. And the thing about calcite is it's not expensive at all. I mean, calcite, you can walk out in some areas where people live and you can find calcite, but red calcite is just really, really good to give you energy. Carnelian will give you energy. Sunstone, so the orange and the red stones, really the orange stones will give you that energy. And then if the energy also comes from maybe a little bit of not feeling worthy, you could go up into the yellows for your solar plexus. I am worthy, and you could get the yellow aventurine, the citrine, and add those in, and just to boost your energy. And that, I will say, the calcites I work with a lot, and I recommend them a lot because I don't want people to think, unless they want to collect specimen crystals, you don't have to spend a lot of money on them. You really could get, very affordable crystals. There's always a high-end, an expensive kind to get, but that doesn't mean it works really any better than one that's just extremely affordable. And so the oranges and the reds are really, really good to increase your energy. Now, there are going to be others of different colors because of that internal structure again, but you can keep it simple by going with, well, what color, where is it that I get my vitality from? And then go with that color.
Oh, Michelle, I have so many other questions to ask you, but we're just about out of time. So I just have this final one. How can people find out more about you and your work?
It's really easy. You can just go to Michelle, that's with 2 L's, Michelle, Welch, like the grape juice. So Welch, MichelleWelch.com. And you can find out about my store, Soultopia, about my books, my readings, and all the other different activities that we do at MichelleWelch.com.
Hey, we've been speaking all about crystals with Michelle Welch. I hope you've enjoyed today's program. If so, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Until next time, this is Debbie Spector Weissman saying, sweet dreams, everybody.